This week, of course, a lot of our programming focused on the recovery from the impact of the cyclone and the floods. A lot of people in very difficult circumstances, but it's been very heartwarming to see the way in which communities have worked together. Joining us on the program now is the ever-cheerful Tanya Unkovich. Tanya, kia ora. Thank you for your time today.
You are always welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, you are the lady who is, all about resilience and talking about resilience. And I think in this time, this is something that I think all of us, are hoping that we can develop. But in the meantime, how do we overcome what is in front of us? How do we as communities and individuals, know how to go through what's happening?
Well, you said the magic word, actually, hope, hoping. We never give up hope. We always believe that, yes, this is such a tough time. And I love that saying by Dr. Robert Shawley, tough times don't last, but tough people do. And I don't know about you, but during times of adversity and times when I've thought, I don't know if I can keep going, I went back to the book of Job, or I went back and remembered all of those times when I've already been through adversity, or times when God has shown that no matter what, we can get through everything.
Something I've really been impressed about in the last few days in particular is the way in which communities work together. You have situations where perhaps, particularly for folk in more rural locations, they're pretty self-sufficient. They've got tank water, their food supply, they're all stocked up to months and ahead. They've got lots of farm equipment. But they're out there helping each other, shoulder to shoulder with their neighbours, making sure they're looking after those who are perhaps less well equipped. Something that us townies could perhaps learn from the rural communities, I think.
Isn't it amazing to watch and beautiful to watch? And I'm sure that if we all had such adversity here in town, we would find a way to support each other. But what an amazing example for us to observe how no matter what, they are just getting in and helping each other. And doesn't it bring us back to having so much faith in the human condition, that when times are difficult, we put everything aside, any differences that we may have had, no matter what, we bring ourselves together, because at the end of the day, that's what we've got each other.
It's so important, isn't it? And I think, during these really tough times, this is when it brings out hopefully the best in humanity. Now, sometimes it does bring the worst out in some people, but at the same time, with people working together to overcome this adversity, certainly during these first few weeks when it is still such a shock, it certainly can help even our own individual resilience. So it is a time too to build ourselves up too. So, you can be in community, but in those times alone, how can we build that inner resilience?
Well, it's about believing in yourself, right? And it's about also being aware that during these initial moments, these initial weeks, as you've already said, of shock, that everyone's into action mode, and we're doing and cleaning up, etc.
Exactly.
And once the shock wears off, that's when we are really going to have to go within and really plug into our own resilience, because when the shock wears off, we're left in this haze of, oh my goodness, this reality, this actually did happen.
Yeah.
And we're exhausted physically, we're emotionally exhausted. And this is the time when we need to reach out to everyone again and say, how are you doing? To remind them of how resilient they are. And what you can do is go back within and take a look at where you've already been resilient in life. Where have you already shown up in life and been courageous? Where have you already overcome adversity? Because the truth is, we've all got that resourcefulness inside, but we just forget. And then when we get hammered with something else in life, we go, I'll never get through it. But then I always remind everyone, hey, you already have gotten through this. So this is something for all of us to remember, to know that maybe when the mess is cleaned up, the people there are really going to need our emotional support, and to remind them, hey, you can do this, and we can support them on an emotional level at this time.
Something else which I think, particularly in a time of crisis, we need a sort of a higher purpose. Perhaps in terms of our resilience, it is helpful not just to think about ourselves, but to think about other people. And we've heard so many stories of people that said, I knew that I had to make it because I had to help somebody else. In terms
Yeah.
of self-care, looking after ourselves so that we can be there, we can come alongside people, we can use our resilience to help support them. Thinking of others before ourselves, that I suppose that helps build in our resilience, thinking about who we're being strong for, who we're, I suppose, being resilient for so we can come alongside them.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you're being a role model for others. So during their time of weakness, if they see you walking through with your shoulders back
Yeah.
and having that real deep belief, you will in some way light someone else's inner light and remind them, actually, I can do that too. So it is about, on that very subtle level, lifting and raising each other up.
Mm.
We're doing it as a community, right? But yes, we do need to have that sense of self and strength and that own personal foundation so that we can say, well, this is my bit for mankind. I'm
Yeah.
going to stay strong because I'm giving back and contributing to mankind in some way, even if it is just simply me showing them that I can do this and I'm strong.
And I think, where does our strength come from? Our strength comes from the Lord, right? So prayer, it's got to be such the backbone of where we go in times like this.
I love that piece in the Bible. Be strong and courageous and get to work. Don't be frightened by the size of the task. I believe it's in Chronicles somewhere.
Yeah.
That is written in my Bible. That is
Mm.
written everywhere so that I can remember. Don't be frightened by the size of this task, Tanya. Just take one step at a time, one breath at a time, one day at a time, and don't be anxious about tomorrow. Just stay in today. We've got that manual written out for us already, and this is one of those times when we can go back and just grab a few verses and hold on to them and trust in Him.
I'm glad that you've got it highlighted in your Bible, but it's in everyone's Bible, really, isn't it? And
Yes.
finding those gems and either highlighting them or writing them somewhere, having I suppose, a life verse that you can hold on to, particularly if you're going through difficult times. Now, I suppose we're talking about the floods and the impact of the cyclone, but this is true for any type of crisis, building that inner resilience. And hey, if you can't be strong for yourself, be strong for somebody that you love and care about for when they're going through tough times. These are skills we need to develop in the good times so that we've got them when things aren't so good.
Absolutely, 100%, yes. Build that strong personal foundation, and I always say that prayer is the greatest building block.
Yeah. Hey, Tanya, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Always so helpful. Very much appreciate talking to you about this resilience and building resilience during these tough times. It's so important. Thanks again.
You are so welcome.